Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. We're going to give this another minute or two to allow people to trickle in, and then we will get going. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming to our webinar today. My name is Trayson Marks, managing partner at DeMar Consulting Group. Today, we're going to be talking about how to accelerate insights with AI, specifically Alteryx's Auto Insights platform. Today, we're going to talk about a handful of different things. So we're going to talk about the analytics lifecycle, what that is, how Alteryx Auto Insights affects that, and then we're going to do a platform demonstration where we get really into the meat and potatoes of what this platform does and how it can actually affect these things. And then at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about Alteryx and responsible AI and infrastructure and things like that people generally have questions about. And then we'll open up for QA at the end. First, just to let you know a little bit about DCG, we are a managing consulting firm that focuses on tax, finance, assurance, and analytics. Our analytics team at the bottom, we have a lot of Alteryx experience. We've been doing this for a long time, and we focus specifically on training deployment. So how does Alteryx and its products work with other products? So let's say you're using some sort of cloud data warehouse or you're trying to integrate it with some other software. We do a really good job making sure that you're ready for that when you bring in Alteryx or if you want to connect. And then we also do project delivery. So if you are trying to speed up the time to value for Alteryx within your organization, and you're looking to get some work done quickly, those are services that we offer. Sean?
Okay, I avoided the dreaded mute button. But good morning, everyone. Just wanted to say hi and introduce myself. My name is Sean Mulhern. I work in sales at Alteryx. I work with 6 large accounts across the country. And the team asked me to come on and just talk about what I'm seeing in the field and some use cases that I've seen recently. So I want to share those briefly and contribute to the call today. So my background goes back through Oracle, Accenture, and SAP. So I sold all the large enterprise software. What I love about Alteryx is that everyone can use it. And I'll share a few use cases about Auto Insights. So yesterday I was on site. I'm actually in Mountain View right now. And one use case that came up was rapid prototyping. So with this company, they have over 100 BAs developing Tableau dashboards. And what happens is they design these Tableau dashboards and spend time doing it from the business. They send it over to the business and then, oh, it's missing a data element. Can you redo it again? And that process of redoing it over and over costs them about 50 hours a month. So they're looking at Auto Insights to quickly do a rapid prototype build, subscribe people to it, and then verify that everything looks good before they actually spend the time to build out Tableau dashboards. So that came from a customer. I thought that was pretty impactful and a very good use case for Auto Insights. Another one we ran across is around marketing and social media pay-per-click. I'm working with a company that spends millions of dollars on Instagram, social media, TikTok, and they're getting information from the big ad agencies like Ogilvy, Saatchi and Saatchi every single week, and just Excel spreadsheets and lots of data, but no insights. So we're uploading data up to Auto Insights, and we're finding trends in activity so they can pivot spend to capitalize on trends on TikTok and Instagram, where they couldn't before. So getting those clicks for this company is very, very important. So as a use case, I thought was pretty awesome as well. One more use case I wanted to share is around the playbooks generator. At the end of this call, there'll be a link. It's on our public website. I was working with IT at a large company, and they don't want to provide access to their data. And you can see why that could be a problem sometimes. So on the public website, you can go out to it. You can type in natural language. I'm a business analyst working in supply chain. I want use cases in demand planning and forecasting. And using ChatGPT and our proprietary work, you'll get use cases that you never even thought of. And this is a great way to validate auto insights before a purchase or before a formal trial. In fact, the company I was working with in HR operations data search like that, and we found use cases around DE&I and promotion bias. And that was actually a big case for them at the current quarter. So looking at that closely. So those use cases I never even thought of before. Just by doing a natural language search, they found these use cases. So very impactful to help them out. And then the last thing I'll share is that anyone can use auto insights. And right now we're seeing, or I'm seeing in the businesses I work with, a lot of hiring of data scientists and engineers. There's not enough of them out there, but their time is valuable. So if we can empower the line of business to upload their own data and get insights, that's going to free up a lot of time across the organizations enterprise wide. And that's the push that I'm seeing. Everyone's infusing Gen AI in their products, but now they're looking inward on the workforce and seeing how are we using it internally, if at all. So that's a new metric that I've seen come up recently. So I want to share just a few of those today. And Tracy and team, thanks for having me on today.
Excellent. Thank you, Sean. And we're actually really excited because a lot of those things that you talked about with how you are seeing customers get excited about Auto Insights is right in line with the things that we think are exciting about Auto Insights. And so we're excited to share all of that with you guys today. So let's talk a little bit about the analytics lifecycle. What we consider the analytics lifecycle to be 3 steps, and this can be broken down probably further into more steps. So generally, there are 3 things that are covered in this. The first one is data collection and preparation. So going in and figuring out what sort of analysis you want to do. Where does that data live? How do I get that data? Who puts that data together for me? And then how do we bring that together to perform an analysis? So what we want to talk about real quick is how Auto Insights impacts that. And I'm going to bring on Noe Garcia, who's our head of sales, and he's going to help us talk through this a little bit.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Tracy. And I think it's, our point of view, or the point of view is, and what we're seeing in the field is there's a lot of slowdown or obstacles that are presented. So the focus is on increasing data agility and speed. And the benefit to that is it allows your developers and data operators to interrogate the data prep motion to ensure that you're answering the questions that you are looking to deliver to the business before publication. So this improves data quality and data agility, data speed.
And to talk about that specifically within the context of Auto Insights, because we haven't seen the platform yet in this, part of playbooks is that we can generate a data set as part of a question. So as we figure out a use case, again, part of this first step in the life cycle, we define a use case and we push it to Auto Insights, and then it creates data sets for us so that we then have an analysis that's built on top of it. And then if we like this analysis, if we want to continue down this road, we can push that data set and the metadata for that directly back to, or rather, it really becomes a starting point for this conversation around data agility and preparation and things like that.
And the ultimate end goal is dramatically improve time to insights.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Which brings us to our second point of the analytics lifecycle. So this is where we would actually call it the actual analysis. So once we have our data, or once we think we have enough data to get going, we're actually asking questions of that data. So what are our issues, which we've hopefully defined in the last part, and then what causes that, and how do we do things like see issues before they come up, or how do we get very specific into the what caused these issues, and then what can we do to pivot on these pain points. So this kind of also creates helps us create a plan of action going forward. Auto Insights when it's here. So can you go back to the whole the analysis piece to this, how Auto Insights generates an analysis for us?
for the analyst,
Yeah. So like as part of this, after
Yeah,
we've asked it the question, yes, sorry.
absolutely. So yeah, what the challenge that we've been seeing in the field is that the analyst, part of this data motion, as we move from the development of and the data curation and passing that to the analyst for review and action, is there's too much data. The analysts are struggling and drowning to find the right nuances in the data results to action correctly and provide um, uh, performance recommendations to the business to optimize whether it's spend or operational resources to support the business, because there's just too much data. And so the focus of or what Auto Insights brings to bear is the ability to lift insights and results in a very iterative and agile process to move the needle in a very accelerated and in an accelerated motion that we just haven't seen before. Does that help?
Yes, actually, thank you. So yes, Alter just to kind of, and again, because we haven't seen Auto Insights yet, what we're doing at this point is that as we, again, kind of ask questions either of a use case or of our data, it's giving us things that we want to potentially analyze. Like, and you'll see this in our demo where we give it just a blanket use case of a person in an organization and then a question. It helps us these are things you might want to look at. It actually helps build these analysis for us so that we can, again, better pinpoint things that we might want to ask of our own data. The third process of this, of course, is monitoring and adjusting. So as we create that plan of action as a result of our analysis, we want to make sure that we're doing something about it. A lot of organizations do a really good job at planning and defining problems, but executing on them are difficult. They don't always do well at execution, but part of that execution is making sure that we're monitoring whatever it is that our change is. So understanding what are the factors that are going to affect whatever it is that we're looking to make a change to. So let's say we're looking to reduce waste at a manufacturing organization. It's okay, so through the definition in the analysis phase, we've decided that these are the underlying factors that are going to help us reduce waste. Things like not over ordering or making sure that we have a view of our entire inventory against things that we are scheduled to produce, things like that. If you don't have the tools in front of you, then it's hard to make sure that people are actually acting on this change. So I'm going to come back to you, Noe. As part of the offering of Auto Insights, what does it offer as far as analysis, visuals and tools of that nature?
Yeah, no, I would think of it as taking which could be any sort of Power BI dashboarding or Tableau dashboarding, which are in essence static views based on prompts that were developed and then were put into execution in these dashboards. Auto Insights presents a dynamic format in which to view and interact dynamically with the results, along with surfacing those next questions that typically may come from the data that you wouldn't get in current state reporting dashboard best practices. So it's taking it to a new and dynamic interactive state.
And this is more of what we're talking about is that when we're developing things in a Power BI or Tableau, everything that's developed there is very specifically developed for a function, where Auto Insights sort of just gives us the whole thing, and then we can dive into the things that we like. If a Tableau or a Power BI dashboard isn't built to specifically look and dive into a data point, then we have to have developers come out and redevelop that platform to do it. Where Auto Insights, it's built around this concept of having that kind of baked in.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, so anything else you want to mention on this before I move over to our demo?
No, I think I'm good. I think we're good.
Excellent. Okay, so we are now going to move into our demo. Give me 1 minute to get this up. All righty, so this is the Alteryx Cloud. So this is if you have an instance of Alteryx Cloud, you log in, it looks something like this. There are other applications available to you through this, but today we're going to talk specifically about this Auto Insights. So I am going to launch this. Okay, so when we launch, we see a handful of kind of interesting options for us. We see an executive summary, a KPI deep dive report, a correlation analysis report. And these are specifically built to feed data into it to ask these specific kind of questions for it. What we're going to talk about today are the playbooks. So Alteryx has given us this tool called Playbook that allows us to help with this whole kind of conversation we've been having about how do we start the analytic process and how do we speed up these different parts of the process. And it allows us to do it in two ways. One, we can enter a scenario, which I'm going to do in just a second, but also you can scan your data. So if you already have data that you are interested in kind of running through this process, you can load it into here and do that. Early on with a lot of these platforms, sometimes organizations don't love sharing their data. So we tend to talk a little bit more about this, which is like this scenario creation. So for this scenario, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about we're going to look at like a head of finance at a large US-based retailer trying to better understand their costs. So again, this is some large language things. We could put anything in here. And again, we're going to show you how you can demo this on your own at the end of this call. But it's going to take this prompt and run it through like a large language model, and it's going to develop the well, I'll just show you. So let's say you load use cases. So right now it is identifying that scenario. So it's taking everything that we just told it, and it is saying that like you can either give it a specific company name, and I've done that before, but I'm not going to do that here. Or you can say like I said, a large US-based retailer. And what it's doing is it's building this like scenario. It's helping it better understand. Then what it's doing is use cases. So it's like checking about like how these other sorts of organizations have done analysis or whatever's publicly available to kind of ask questions about what's something that someone might be interested in looking at. So these are the 4 use cases that it's generated for us. We can load more, but we're going to talk about any one of these today. So we have cost analysis, supply chain efficiency, profit margin optimization, and revenue stream analysis. I have a background in supply chain, so I think we're going to do this one. So let's look at C reports. So now what it's going to do, this takes about 2 minutes. Which normally is where I apologize for being like, oh, I'm sorry, this is taking so long. But really, the things that it's doing is pretty amazing that we can do essentially this entire analysis in 15 minutes. But right now, it's actually creating that data set. So earlier we talked about you can either create a data set or load your own data set. Now it's creating a data set. What's going to be cool about this, again, on the other side is we can look at the metadata of it. We can look at records that are built within it. And of course, none of this is specific to none of this is real data. None of this is like it didn't go out to some data source and pull this back. It is actually completely generating everything we would need for this use case. And then it's going to build some reports after that. Again, what's nice here is at the end of it, we can actually take whatever this generated data set looks like. And this is what we imagine we're going to feed back to our engineering team. And it really is like a base level for like, these are the things we need, but then also it can help you sort of generate ideas around like, oh, you know what, because my organization is a little bit different, I would also like these things, or here are some other sub buckets of some sort of, I'm trying to forget the term, field that I can't remember what I'm looking for, but anyway, but you can, continue on, and dive deeper into your data. What you'll also notice is that as this is sort of developing out, you're going to see sort of audiences. So not just we had mentioned like a head of finance, but like, look, this might also be exciting for a procurement team or an executive team or a logistics team like this, because we know that an analysis isn't always specific to one part of an organization. Now you can get very specific, but something like this could be helpful for multiple parts of the organization. So these are the reports that it has generated for us. So we have supplier performance, we have logistic cost analysis, we have inventory turnover, we have order status tracking. So if we look at, and again, it's generated all this for us. So this is saying a comprehensive analysis of suppliers, focusing on their performance in terms of cost, delivery time, and quality. This report is critical for strategic decision-making related to supplier negotiation management. So it's like, okay, you know what? I like that. So what I'm going to do is generate a report. Now, all of these are time series, so there has to be some sort of data in here. And let's just look at weekly reports. So this will take another probably minute to generate. And to note, and we're going to talk more about this later, but I think this is probably a good time to talk about it. The infrastructure of Alteryx's cloud is one that, like, these reports that we're building is built on the proprietary machine learning functions that Auto Insights does. The LLM work that we did earlier, that is actually reaching out to an Azure. I can't remember the specific term for that, but that does reach out to an Alteryx hosted API to run through some of that, like looking through the internet stuff. Now, no, it's not used to train. So even if you do have your data on here, all of that exists within one safe space, and it's not used to train models. But right now, the work that you're seeing happening, this is actually the Alteryx cloud platform. All right, so we're going to open our weekly report. Alrighty here. So again, with our synthetic data set, let's talk about the synthetic data set real quick. From here, we note that we have all of like this mission description. So we have a mission description, we have our supplier cost analysis. Again, notice there were 4 things earlier. It's going to show all of those, but this is the one that we selected specifically. And so this is looking at things like a week over week change in, let's see, the page provides a comprehensive analysis of supplier costs. So week over week change in supplier costs, saying that, hey, this industry, Stark Industries, saw a fast decline. Well, Umbrella Corp saw a large increase. And then most supplier named increases, most suppliers, increases except for Umbrella Corp, which went down. So again, these are kind of given like high level insights into whatever data set we're looking at. So let's say we like this, we can click on view page. And then we can dive further into this. So like we saw, again, this is probably a little more broken down version of the things we were seeing on the last section. But if I wanted to look at something like, where is it? If I wanted to look at Umbrella Corp, I can dive specifically into some information about that. Or I apologize. So if I want to do Stark Industries, having a hard time here. If I click here, they're going to talk about the specific things about Umbrella Corp that were affected. So not only do we have this like, high level, this is where we talked about earlier about being able to dive into specifics. So like if this was a visual that was created for us on a traditional BI tool, you would have to have all of these sort of things built into it, specifically seeing like what supplier locations were affected, who are logistics providers that were affected, destination warehouse and warehouse locations. Like you would have to build some sort of dive into each of these specific things, or it'd be other tabs, or it'd be like a corporation breakdown or something like that. And then like all of these, you have to very specifically build to them in our platforms. We can see that it gives us other breakdowns of like a logistics provider. So note that it's what goes up and what goes down. And then there's a just further breakdowns of this. So we talked a little bit about the data. The data set. Note here it says synthetic data set. So we can click here and say show underlying data. And this is where it actually gives us like examples of this data. So if are again trying to figure out like, yep, I like this analysis. What are the things that I sort of need for this analysis as built here? We could download this, and this can become the beginning of that conversation of that we pass back to the engineer, or even maybe not just the engineer, but if you are the engineer or you within your organization are prompted with engineering these data sets, you can, if you don't know where it is, you can at least start having the conversations about things rather than starting to build out. And years of building dashboards, I have done this where I'll build something out and then I'll be like, oh crud, I need to go back and I need to go get another data point. And then sometimes like the metadata shifts and that breaks things on my dashboard. But like having the insight into all these things we're probably going to need ahead of time is going to save you a lot of development process. So that's the underlying data. There's other places to look at. Again, we can download a CSV, and that's going to give us a sample of that data set. And then let's say, okay, we like this. This is a cool analysis. We enjoy this. If we click on Magic Documents, we have the ability to generate presentations, emails, and messages. So if we take this presentation and we want to, let's just say we want to send it out to our executive team, it's going to generate this presentation for us. And so this is the second part of what actually has to go out to the API. This is actually calling out to generate, again, all this kind of LLM stuff for us in that environment. All right, give me just 1 second. Let this generate. So here we see an example of how this became an Excel or a PowerPoint for us. So now if we can download this, we can open it up in PowerPoint, we can play around. And again, this really kind of realistically becomes just a starting point for a lot of the analyses that we want to continue with. All right, and that's the end of the demo.
All right, so thank you for that, Trayson. So I think you saw how it makes it really easy to start to say, where do I start with my data, right? How do I get started? And if I don't have data, where do I start with my analytics? And the idea is to let it build something up for you that makes it usable. Then you can apply your data. But this is where we get into thinking about, okay, AI and my data. And we need to start thinking about that and how those work together. So one of the first things you want to think about, and one of the things I hear a lot, is people throwing around the term AI. And AI means a little bit different to a lot of different people. It might mean artificial intelligence or augmented intelligence. And really think about what is AI and what is it to you and how you're going to use it. So the MIT Technical Review says it's a set of technologies that make computers do things that are thought to require intelligence when done by people. So what does that mean? What it really means is when we think about AI, we're setting a bunch of computer algorithms to do things that would normally take a person to do that in their head or using math, and it can do it a whole lot faster. So it can do millions of times the amount of work that it would take a human their entire lifetime to do in a few seconds. That's what we think about when we think about using AI with data analysis, to be able to run all of these things and all of these iterations and possibilities for you to help and augment what humans can do to make us better. So the benefits are that automation of the mundane. Give it those things you have to do over and over again that are repetitive and iterative, and let it do that. Let it assist you in making your job better. It can innovate. It can think of things maybe you didn't think of, but other people have, because it can bring it all together in one place, analyze through that, and come up with ideas. And then it can simplify the really difficult things. So those different iteration models, if you've done a lot of ML, they can be very complex. But by letting the AI go do it, it can simplify it for you, where it can just give you some answers to go through, double check, make sure it looks accurate, do some testing, and then you can go ahead and productionize it. Now, there are risks. As you know, everybody thinks AI, they think the Terminator and Skynet and Cyberdyne systems. That is not what AI is, but there are risks to it. And the first one to consider is data privacy. So what is happening to our data when we give it to an AI? And these are things that you need to consider and things that Alteryx has considered, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Bias. This is something we hear about a lot. So if an AI is just using all readily available information, we know that a lot of information is bias. It may not be factual. It may not be based in the reality. It might just be based on people's opinions. So it's making sure that when you use AI, it is based in simply facts and simply grounded to the data that you need it to use. There's the risk of replacement, which is talked about a lot. AI should not be used necessarily to replace humans. It should be enhancing what humans can do. And then, of course, there's environmental concerns that are out there. So AI uses a lot of CPU and GPU, and we know that takes a lot of electricity, and it's affecting climate. So there are risks in using AI, so we have to use it responsibly. So now we're going to look at how does Alteryx look at responsibility with AI. You go back up one more. Thank you. So if you go to the Alteryx page on responsible AI, we can provide the link, but I've offered it here when we share this out. We'll make sure that that link is available, but you can find it on the Alteryx website. And their tenets of responsible AI really start with transparency and explainability. So really being open about what it's doing. And as you saw the demo, you saw step by step what that AI is doing, right? It's automating dashboards, but it's from either the data that's been synthesized, which Alteryx lets you see, or it will be from your data that you've put together. And it can't really go outside of what your data is. So it's going through the steps of how it's creating that data, where it's coming from, and making it very explainable from an analyst perspective when they bring it to their executives. When we talk about human agency, AI should not necessarily be left to do everything on its own. It should, again, be helping humans, and humans should have oversight of what that final deliverable it's created is. And that's where being able to view the data sources underneath, right? And set controls about what's actually going on. It doesn't just send it to your executive, it provides a preview. So you can check that against your data, and humans have to be held accountable as well of checking the facts of AI and what it's delivered. Trust and accountability. So when we look at the way Alteryx set up their cloud, your data is protected. So even whether you're using your own VPC or you're using the hosted Alteryx cloud, your data is protected both at motion and at rest, and it's not released from that cloud at any point. Even the AI itself is using Microsoft Cognitive Services and their responsible AI measures to make sure your data is never trained by the AI. So it's not reusing your data and it is protected. And that goes into that safety piece because your data might be private. And you want to think about what data you save and where it goes and how you set up your infrastructure of where that data is kept. But the idea that it's never trained and it's never kept by the AI can give you that safety measure that needs to be done. And that needs to be done with any type of AI, whether you're using just whatever chat structure. Think about what you're giving to that AI because it should be used. It should be used in the good method. You talk about fairness and inclusivity. I really think about that bias. So one of the things that happens with analysts is analysts have different ideas about what data means. And I've been an analyst for many years. I've actually been using Alteryx for 17 years. And as an analyst, we can really make data say what we want it to say. We all know this. And that forms a type of bias. And by letting the AI look at that, it can actually produce a more unbiased opinion because it's looking at the examples and just showing this is what the data says based on the data, not this is what I want the data to say so it can emphasize my point. And that's where you can use it to reduce biases. And finally, when we talk about responsible AI, any any platform you go to that has a mission around responsible AI should talk about societal good and using AI responsibly for that. Alteryx has an amazing history with Alteryx for Good, for promoting change for the betterment of our planet. And so that becomes important in how they use it and thinking it through. So let's talk about the availability of how you can use Auto Insights. So there's two ways that they offer deployment at Alteryx, and DCG can help you with these deployments along with Alteryx. So the first one, which is pretty common, is a multi-tenant cloud. So when you have your cloud, it is sanctioned off from everybody else's cloud, so there's no intermixing of any data or IP. Alteryx does host it. They take care of the compute, they take care of the storage, and they take care of the services. So it's a great, easy way to start. But if your data is in a place where you cannot do that, they do offer virtual private cloud offerings. And they can do that in GCP, Azure, AWS. So wherever your cloud storage is, that's where they can host it. And you can have different measures of this where you host your data and Alteryx does some of the work. And when it comes to certain things, the API is required to use Microsoft Cognitive Services. So things like the LLM analysis, as well as the RAG type analysis used for documents, and the LLM for playbooks. So that's going to be done via API, where it's sending metadata information back and forth. Again, that is all encrypted, in motion, and at rest. So DCG is here to work with you to find what the best option is for your company based on your security and your needs. But it really shows that Alteryx has put a lot of thought into the right way to use AI and thinking about it with the good of all of their customers in the world when they made those decisions. So appreciate your time for that. And I'll hand it back to Trayson.
Excellent. So from here, we just want to talk about how we can help. So if you have any questions specifically around the Auto Insights or platform, or Alteryx Cloud as a whole, or even just analytic services around Alteryx or BI, we'd be more than happy to help you. Also want to leave Sean's contact information. If you want to ask him more about Alteryx or any of these platforms, you can reach out to him directly. I also want to show you this link here. Which are going to put this in the chat. So this is the same thing that we sort of just went through. It's an example. So if I go to create my own, and let's say I put in the same exact prompt, it's going to help start. It's going to run this simulation for us. So I'm going to put this in the chat. Everyone can go ahead and grab it. If they want to go ahead and play around. All right. See, and then again, doing the similar thing here, reducing operating costs, improving inventory turnover, decrease overhead costs, increase gross margin. So if we click this one this time, again, it's running through this with a different interface, but you can give that a shot. And for the rest of this, we're just going to kind of run through this demo. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Noe, Scott, if anybody want to wrap us up with anything, feel free to jump in. And thank you, everyone who's come to our demo.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming. We're here. We have, I think we calculated up somewhere around 35, 40 years of experience in analytics and Alteryx experience. So we can be here to help answer your questions, help guide you through this process. Sean and his team can also help you, and we work hand in hand with these types of projects. So again, if you have any questions, whether it is about Auto Insights, Alteryx, or just AI best practices, please reach out, and we're happy to talk to you.
And I think that's a wrap. I'll just everyone stole my thunder. I had the last page. But again, thank you to everyone who's joined us today. We appreciate the time and interest. And again, reach out either to ourselves at DCG or our partner Sean at Alteryx. But when you're thinking about current state and how we can help, I just focus in on where are you in your process? Where are we around use case development and maturity? How are you with alignment around prompts to help support the business and data onboarding, along with the wrapper of governance around how to structure and operationalize that motion. We can help in that area of in that portion of the life cycle, along with training and onboarding of the team to help drive and lift maturity within the team, and then also straight up implementation. There are years of experience, decades of experience. Let me correct myself. In Alteryx, and please, I guess the call to action is reach out with questions, or if you want to learn more. Again, thanks everyone for the time.
Thank you.